All right. Welcome back, guys. so, uh, I need to apologize to you guys about last week, the last time I did this. So apparently, I tested on my audio, and then I went to the bathroom, and every time I go to the bathroom, I mute my mic. I've been on streams where not me, but I've been hearing other people, and then they thought they mute themselves, and they didn't. And everybody heard them pee. So I'm always paranoid about that. So I turned it off, and then I forgot to turn it back on. So that's why my last stream, when I was like going through this, it was muted. So I apologize. I said this is just something I do for fun. I'm not. I don't really need to do this. I just want to share, and like I said, I'm just having fun. This is just me, just BSing, having fun. I just finished doing some more painting around my house, so I'm a little tired. I worked out, so I'm redoing my workout regimen. So I'm exhausted. It was legs this morning, and then I just painted like another room this morning. And if you ever done any painting, it's just exhausting. I think I'm almost at 2,000 calories burned for the day, and it's only noon. So that tells you how much I've been moving all day. So let's go ahead and get started. As you guys know, I am one of the artists. I'm one of the main three people involved in a project called Astrocats. By the way, today's beats are brought in by Stream Beats. This is the indie pop, really good. They're like royalty free. They're meant for streaming. So please show them some love if you get a chance to check them out. They're not paying me. I like to give credit where credit is due. That's just the way that I roll. As you guys know, this is Astrocats. This is my designs right here. This is the updated designs of the project. So right now, I am currently working with my writer. So there's the creative. Then I'm the artist. I'm the workhorse, and then we have a writer. So it's three of us working on this project. The creator's been in it for 5 years, the writer's been in it for 4 years, and I've been in it for 3 years. So as they've gone through, we picked up more people as we go through. We did create a 20-minute animatic that is pretty much the first episode, is that the pilot. So it's all storyboarded, it's set out. We had to do a lot of like homemade audio. So it's actually kind of funny because I couldn't find the sound effects. So I'm just kind of like beatboxing the Foley on it. But you know what? It's fun. Me and my friends had a blast putting it together. They learned a lot when we were putting this stuff, because I used to do animation in my younger days. And it is fun, but oh my God, does it not pay anything? I've just kind of reached a point in my life where I love animating. And I miss it. Same thing goes with like a lot of sequential art, but it's hard to make a living out of it. And there's just so many people out there doing it. And now, as an American, you're in a horrible disadvantage, because someone can just go online and get some kid overseas and pay them like what will be like $100 and $200 job. They'll pay them like $20, and the person overseas, because the dollar goes a lot like further over there, the kid will be like, "Yeah, I'm rich, $20, woohoo!" 20 USD. So that's the thing, though. So it's really hard to make money as an artist. You have to stay on top of it. You have to hustle all the time. And I'm 40 now. I've been a freelancer for 15 years. I've been very blessed that I finally got picked up by the man, and I'm okay working for the man because it comes with benefits, and my check shows up in time. Whoa, continuity. So it's one of those things that maybe I sold out, but at the end of the day, I still do this on the side for fun. So I personally, I do this, like most of the stuff that I'm doing right now is mainly in marketing. Like I'm looking at a lot of analytics. I do a lot of assessments. I do recommendations and stuff. So I'm trying to use more of my master's degree. But I still like to do my art stuff on the side. I have a very strong passion for sequential art. A lot of people might not know this about me, but my first main influence as a child was the Take On Me Take On Me video by Aha. And even to today, I'll sit there and anytime that video pops up, I stop and I watch it. And it has been such an influential piece in my life. Like I just love that piece of art, because it is, even though people are like, it's just storyboard, it's like, no, it's a gorgeous piece of art. There's a lot that went into it. And at the time, it was like ahead of its time. So here we're gonna go ahead and we are. So this is pretty much the Facebook page. You can look us up. This is Astrocats. As you can see, we are all in our like I'm the oldest one. I'm in my 40. I've just turned 40. My friends start like in their mid to late 30s. So we all have jobs. We have responsibilities. But we've been putting this together on our own in our own dime. We're not getting any money for this. We're just doing it on our own. There's Dave. He's the creator. Our writer, he's kind of a ghost. He doesn't like to be seen. And that's fine. You know, everybody's got their thing. So here's some of the character design stuff that I've done for them in the past. And I took a small hiatus, not because it's just me putting this stuff together in my previous location in North Carolina. I took a little hiatus because I had to pack up and move to Texas. And my stuff was in storage for like the longest time. I didn't have access to my Cintiq and a bunch of other stuff. So I was kind of like in a situation where I just couldn't really produce unless I was doing it all analog. So now I'm getting back into it. We finally finished the animatic. Right now, what we're doing is I am doing some of the additional character stuff. It's pretty much what we're doing right now. So there is progress going on. Like I said, we're sorry. We're just kind of like low key. But again, we have other responsibilities. So the first where are you? Okay, so the first thing that I put together, this is between me and the writer. Our creative guy, he's just doing what creative people do. He's thinking of big ideas, and he's thinking of other ways to continue to push content out. So that's our goal for 2022. Just continue working, continue to build assets, and then just continue to move forward. And even at the end of the day, if no one picks this up, you know what? We have this experience together. We had fun, and that's what we just want to do. We just want to have fun with this. So let's go ahead and continue. So there is our Facebook page. There is our YouTube page. My friend did some stuff with puppets. Of course, that is the puppet based on the previous design. We are currently, hopefully things turn out well, we're in the works of redoing the Hobbes puppet so that way it reflects the newer design that we see right here. So that's in the works right now. So let me move this out of the way. Now, on the last episode that was muted, as frustrating as that was. Okay, so I was working on something that's called Octovains. This is an alien race. And what they are is they're actually a very friendly race. The problem is when they first meet somebody, they're perceived as hostile because they come out there and they have all 8 tentacles in their head. They're going, so they're coming right at them, and people think they're gonna attack them because they're just. I mean, if you've never seen something like this, first of all, their whole body is towards their feet. And then it's like reverse head. So instead of the tentacles being at the bottom, which is what we're used to from octopus, it's actually reverse. So think of like snorks, but backwards. So they have like these little knobs and stuff that they use, and then their hair just kind of does like additional stuff. So if they're talking, they'll be like grabbing items here. So it's like extra limbs. But for most part, the greeting that they do is they just start shaking their tentacles around. But because people don't understand them, then they come across as aggressive, right? So this is one of the aliens. This is the 3 renditions I showed my friends that they're working with me. And he really liked this last one where it's kind of like backwards. So these were kind of cool. Maybe we'll use these for something else. But this is what he ended up liking. So today I'm going to go in, I'm going to refine that design. And again, guys, if you ever do character design, make sure you go in and understand that sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes time to get the idea down, what works for the show, what might look appealing. So if you do a bunch of designs and you at first glance, maybe your designers don't like it. And you'll have this where I've created like 20, 30 designs. I'll put them on a wall and my art director will go, hate all these. I like their eyeball, I like the feet, like the clothes, deal with it, make me something new, and then come back. And that's part of my job. So you cannot get married to your design. So that's one of the first things back when I used to teach college level. I used to tell that to my students. It's like, look, you cannot take this personal. You just can't. Because if you do, you're going to be disillusioned. You're going to be upset. So the first thing that I want to do, I want to start designing something that fits. Sorry, I have like monitors everywhere. So I'm going to get my reference image. of Hobbes, because these characters need to fit within the same environment. So I have to keep that in mind as I'm designing this. So let me get Hobbes ship. I need to design so much stuff for the show. It's not even funny. So that's probably what I'm probably be doing for the rest of the year until we get like our idea. We also trying to put like a little podcast together, where we just kind of like kind of sketch things out, like skits, like little mini skits. So this is just for style. As you can see, the characters tend to be about 2 heads tall, meaning that the size of the head here is their body, and they're about 2 heads tall. So they're bipedal, anthropomorphic animals. So I'm going to be using that as my guideline. Okay. So if this was the design that he liked before, let me go back into my aliens over here. Tab. I hate how Adobe has changed some of these features. Like, it drives me absolutely bananas. And I'm going to put that politely. So this is what he likes. And I'm going to push this down here so we can see his feet. I'm going to lock that. Lock it. Okay. So this is the design, and this is what we got going on here. So I want to try to stick to that 2 head ratio so that way stuff fits. These are just lines of reference. It's a good thing if I could lines of ref. It would be good if I can actually spell dirt. Listen, kids, if you cannot laugh at yourself, you're taking yourself way too seriously. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I like what we got going on here. So now I have to turn because the way that I draw. And this is really rough. I'm not even... Yes, meow meow, I hear you. I don't know. Hey, are you breaking stuff back there? Meow. Meow. Yeah, I talk to my cats, okay? Leave me alone. I'm a 40-year-old woman that talks to her cats. This is my life now. Nah, I love my meow meows. They might be destructive little shits, but I do love them. Okay, so I'm going to try to stick to the design here. I'm going to try to keep the ratio. I do want to try to add some movement to the design. I need to add some echoing shape and things that reflect the original creature. Like if you ever looked at an actual octopus, they have this eye that's like a circle and it's got this right here. So I want to keep that. I'm going to try to put... So they look really weird. They look like these little... And I want to echo some of these shapes. Like this is like a circle. And that's the thing you have to learn when you're doing the signs. You have to make sure you echo the shapes. So here's a mix of like these triangles. So it's a circle and a triangle. So you have the 3 basic shapes. You have square, circle, and triangles. Everything that you draw are based on those 3 shapes. In this case, I'm going to be using the circle for the main body, the triangles for the feet, and they're just really tiny little adorable feet. Then I'm going to be using kind of these triangular round triangle shapes. Again, this is just a rough sketch. And because these are octi, okay, so there's 2 ways I can go about it. I can either give them just 4 tentacles in the top, because technically if they're octi, that means they have 8 limbs, okay? So technically 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So actually this might be more animation friendly because instead of me tracking 4 limbs plus an additional 8 limbs, I'm only tracking additional 4, which probably they're just gonna move like its own, like just kind of like look like move like hair, like primary and secondary action on it. So, but we'll see how this plays out. And then I'll probably do a second one where we'll have like there's more tentacles, but they're kind of implied. So technically it's not an octo God, what is it when you have like 10 limbs? Okay, hold on. 10 digits term. Let me see. 10 digit numerical digit or a digit such as 2, 25. The term for 10, 10th, no, R up, no, that's 9, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I'll find it. I don't want to get too engrossed in this one side quest, so, but anyway. So that's pretty much what I'm planning to do on this. So now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop the opacity on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock it. So Control plus question mark or / locks it real quick. Control Shift N creates a new layer, and I'm going to call this clean line VO1. And I know you guys can't see it because my stuff is bouncing back and forth between both of the layers. And I'm going to, this time around, I'm going to try to be a little cleaner. And again, I'm just deciding at this point. I am not too worried about the super clean lines. The only thing I do want to do, though, I want to switch to a more... I like to use more solid lines when I'm doing cleanups. And then I have to make sure that my pressure sensitivity is turned on. And again, and I will vectorize a lot of this in Adobe Illustrator later on to give me more of a nice clean. And keep in mind, guys, my Cintiq comes across as a little shaky, but my Cintiq is old. I've had, this is an Intuos 2. I have this since, like, this was my gift to myself when I became an art director for a company called Kids Wealth. They're still around. But that was my first main art gig leaving animation college. Okay. That was 24, so I thought I was the queen of the world. And again, this is just doing some quick. Just trying to fit, see, the two heads. So right here, this is one head. 1, 2 head ratio. Got little fleckles. There we go. So nice and cute and adorable. And this is probably my favorite thing to do when I'm doing like a lot of design. I love pre-production. I have been training 3D. I don't have the patience for 3D, and I knew that even in college. And I don't blame my instructors, but like my classroom was like, we were like guinea pigs. It seems that every time we had a new instructor, they had like a new method. So I just could not get into it. Okay, now I have a decision to make right here. Now, if you ever look at tentacles, there's technically like 2 divisions. You got side A, side B, and then you obviously have the little suction cups. And by the way, by default, people do single. In actuality, is double. So, depending on what style of animation that I'm doing, if I'm doing freehand, I want to keep my style simplified. And that's one of those things that a lot of people complain that the cartoons today are much simpler, but that's because they have a much faster turnaround and they're cheaper to animate. The more detail you add, the more stuff you have to track, the more time it takes, the more it costs. So, do I need to have the division of having that little, like, so it looks more squid-like? Do I need that? Yes or no? Well, maybe once this is more defined and more what's that called, more solid, maybe. But for right now, I think this works. Now, the other option that I want to do for this, I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to imply that there's additional tentacles back here. This is just implied. So I personally do not like this. This is too much. Not a fan of that. So I'm just going to delete that. So I'm going to stick to this bad boy right here. I think that's pretty cool. It stays to the style. Obviously, when I clean it up, it'll look a lot better. But this right here, I really like that a lot. Like I said, these are just some rough sketches. I am not, by any means of the imagination, doing anything that is completed. Okay, and I'm going to add some notes to this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is just for me, so that makes it octo. Okay, that right there. And now I need to figure out the locomotions of this this character. I know that seems really weird, but it is really important to understand how your character will move, because that will help your animators figure out how to set up the rigs. I'm gonna call this notes. How this thing will move. Does this thing even walk? I mean, look at his little legs. If it walks, how does it walk? Does this thing just kind of like hop everywhere, you know? But if it hops, does it affect the tentacles? Because it looks weird that this thing is hopping. Okay, so that's another thing. Maybe it floats. So maybe some people have it where these things just kind of float. So you see that. Maybe that might be a little easier. So a couple things to figure out. So I'm going to go back to my sketching paper. Okay, and I'm going to call this rough. Okay. And I'm going to now start playing with this a little bit more. And I like to use a new layer. Okay, so I'm going to start figuring out some of the basics. Movement. Does it float? So I'm probably just going to start with something even more basic than that. Okay. So if he's talking to people and they are this small, maybe you see their hair still does the bipedal thing. I don't know what my cats are doing in the background, but I'm going to pretend for right now that I am not paying attention to them. And then everybody kind of moves different. Some people like to move around on their head tentacles. Other people do not. So everybody kind of gets to choose how they want to move. I also need to figure out what environment at the end. Are they kind of like in a fishbowl environment? So maybe they move different out of water that when they are in water. So maybe once they're in water, they're a little faster out of water. And then in water, they kind of look like a star. And then you see their tentacles doing the whoosh, 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 like you will see. So here, let me erase this a little bit more. And again, this is some of the stuff that you have to kind of figure out when you're designing a character, even if it's for like a kids show, because this helps out a lot of stuff and it helps answer a lot of things for your team. Like if your character has to lift something heavy with his arms, but their arms are tentacles, you know, how would that look like? In water. I'm going to put little bubbles here. So they look more like a betta fish when they're swimming around. And by the way, if I need to, I can go ahead and I can expand this board. There we go. So that way I can get more space. And I don't care how big I get, to be quite honest. Octovains. And I'm going to go over here to... God, they got so many new stupid features added on this. Yes. Okay, there we go. There we go. And this is just me just figuring out some of the basic stuff. And every time that the tentacles like squishes, you see them move fast. Open. And even this might have to be more dramatic, to be quite honest. And I do have to be careful that I have to stick to the 2 heads width. So technically, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to shorten this out a little bit. And even this, so I'll probably have to do a 3-point because it has to open up. Think of like an umbrella. So if this umbrella has 4 points, so we see the back is implied. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 back here. Okay, so this is open. You see the webbing. We talked about this last time, even though you guys could not hear me. So if you look at octopus, they kind of have a webbing like right here, like in your fingers. Okay. Okay, and this is when they close. And you still see the little feet. Close. So it's kind of like, so they open up, propel, open up, propel, open up, propel. Again, just an idea. In water or fluid. So these are aliens. We don't know how what environment they're in. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so that right there, that's pretty good. Again, I'm just trying to get more of a feel for these little guys. And maybe they come in different shapes. Maybe some of them are truly just round. Like they're just like a balloon. So that's round. And you have some more that are more like a teardrop. Kind of like humans come in like different shapes. But the basic shape still echoes. And then some of them are more bottom heavy. Like this is like the Chad of these squids. It's got more like a square. This one looks more like a turnip. But they all pretty much have the same locomotion, no matter how... Yes. Yes, meow meow, I hear you in the background. Again, not quite sure what you're doing. My little destruction machines. What am I going to do with them, right? Alright. And normally I tend to do this on a sketchbook. I'm just trying to get better about just doing a lot of my notes. I need to start using OneNote. So that way, but the problem is with OneNote, your friends need to have access to Microsoft. But it's really cool for planning stuff. Okay, so different shapes. And let's go ahead and clean some of this stuff out. And again, this is going to be one of those that's going to be kind of interesting to see how difficult the locomotive is going to be. So we see tentacle 1, 2, and 3. And of course the fourth one is implied, like it's in the background. Close. There we go. And then what I'm probably going to do is, now that we're getting the locomotives, I'm going to borrow this right here. I'm going to move this over here. I like to move my notes around. Okay. Different shapes, different colors. Okay, let's see how else these things do. Let's see what this greeting looks like. Okay, let's see, why is it that people are terrified of them? Which that makes sense. And then their little things are vibrating. Ah! So suddenly, like, all their teeth look really sharp. Okay, this is the greeting. I think I spelled that right. I might have one too many E's, but I don't really care. Greetings! So they're more like sea urchins. That's to me what that they looks like. Think of like Stitch when he first meets Lilo. Hi. Think of that. I'm going to imply that these are like the webbing. Okay, let's do that right there. That's the greeting. Okay, so that's right there. Okay, so that's where that looks pretty good. Again, I have no idea what my cats are doing in the background, but it's not a now problem, it's a later problem. So what's really funny is that even though these characters have like their own little legs and stuff, their tentacles will kind of act like the two center is more like their legs, but then like the side ones will be more like, and again, this is something that might need to be simplified later on. So you still have that bipedal familiar expression that we're used to. So this is if they're sitting down. Well, let me see. What are you doing back there, meow meows? Jesus, I'm too scared. I'm too scared to check. Does that make sense? I'm too scared to check. Okay, so now we have... So here is the character. Okay, so this is the main thing. So the character greets... And people get scared of them because they think they're attacking where they're just being they're just really happy to meet somebody. So they come across as intimidating, but they're not. This is some of their movement in a liquid-like environment. So since they're based on an octopus, I need to have that open and closed motion. So that way that inertia of closing will push them forward and propel them to the water. These are different shapes of the other creatures from the same planet. You can have them where they all look the same just to cut down on cost, but for right now, I like to always like having variations. It's not just in the body, but also on the different colors. Let me see. I don't think anybody's talking to me. Nope, no one's talking to me, and that is totally cool. Okay, not a big deal. Now, right here, like I said, I'm trying to figure out how this character reacts outside of the water. Okay, so this is going to be left, right. And again, as an animator, when you're designing, it's really good for you as a designer to provide this for your animators because they need to understand what is the length. Now, depending on how your puppets are set up, you're also going to be limited by that. But right now, we're in a point where we are just kind of putting ideas out. I am not worried about production yet. So this is probably something that will be limited a little bit later once we have puppet rigs set up. So it'll be a little bit different. Okay, so you're sitting. Okay, let's see. Maybe they are reading. For all we know, they're here. They're scholars. So he will have. Yeah, don't even ask. Apparently they have books. So let's go ahead and just make something more futuristic. Let's do the usual, floating screen where they're talking. And they're practically just a talking torso. So right here, again, you have one of their tentacles. And the tentacles is the one that is interacting with the item. The rest of them are just kind of coiled back here unless he needs some. Or they could just kind of be standing up, which could also be the other option. And by the way, depending on the character, their tentacles might do different things. Like this one, maybe this one's like a female. So she'll have more like the ice cream swirl, and you only see the tentacles. Like no matter how often she moves these tentacles, when she is in a more relaxed pose, or they're more relaxed pose, it will go back to this version right here. Okay, other versions, info. I'm gonna call this info. Other versions of the hair might involve, and actually for this, I'll probably research like braid hair. I'm not sure if you guys ever gotten an opportunity to look at like braided hair or braid sculpture. There is some absolutely gorgeous braid work that I've seen. Especially if we were like in more of the southern states like Georgia and stuff. So what you'll see, yes, Kat, what you doing? So I might just go and look at those for more inspiration. But I like the fact that maybe one of them will look like, maybe like a flower. So that's a little too much. Again, it's all about simplification if you're doing animation. So you have one. So you always see the one. And then the other ones are kind of implied behind it. So it looks more like a flower bloom. So they're just kind of like coiled together like a flower bloom. Maybe you put a little lashes there indicating this is a female. But yeah, no, guys, get inspiration from all kinds of stuff. Like I'm constantly looking at everything from vehicle design, hair design, and you'd be amazed where you can get inspiration from. Things that might not like will come, things that might not be useful at the time, like when you're looking at them. Eventually, at some point or another, it will come. You'll be like, "Oh man, that looks kind of cool." You know, maybe we can use this and apply it to something else down the line. So I usually tell people, don't be too quick to dismiss looking at anything. Period. Okay, so this is more of a military guy one. So, or more like an Elvis looking one. So I'll go ahead and I'll do this with his tentacles. So they're always like this. Again, just kind of giving them more personality. Just playing with them. It doesn't mean that we're going to go this way. It's just an idea. Again, I'm just trying to show these to my friends. See if this is something that they will like. I do like the freckles on the nose. I've always loved freckles. I think they're cute. But that's just a personal thing. I don't know. I just always thought they were really interesting. There's somewhere out there, somewhere with freckles going, "Blah, freckles suck." No, I think they're cool. Just adds, like, it just kind of breaks the monotony of having just continuous skin tone. Kind of like, God, what's that condition where, like, there's certain pigments of the skin missing? I just think they're just beautiful and fascinating. Like, it sounds terrible. I mean, I should not talk about somebody's skin tone like that. I just think that visually is very interesting. Okay, so tentacles as hair. What are you doing back there? Jesus. When not in use. And it'll be kind of really cool. Can you imagine it's an episode where you upset them and they just raise the middle tentacle? So it could mimic like a hand. That could be another thing in here. Again, I'm just shooting some ideas. This is my favorite part of the whole process, just coming up with just concepts. And I got a bunch to make. So you guys are probably gonna see me do a lot of these, and then there'll be probably some refinements down the line. But I do like the idea of having, like, most of them will have like their hair normal. Like, this will probably be what their hair looks like all the time, just kind of little wavy, just standing up. But the main key ones that you get to interact with from this alien species, they will have more of a personalized look to their tentacles, and they actually work kind of like not only is it like a hairstyle, but it's also functional. So they can use it to sit on it, they can grab things with it. You can see they're interacting with the screen here. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna stretch this board out even more. I'm actually kind of really getting into it. Yes, Photoshop, thank you for letting me know stuff that I already know. But you need to charge you more money somehow, so I get it. And I know my finger's out to 25 inches wide. I don't care. When I'm doing this, I have the space. So right now I'm just coming up with some ideas. Now I'm going to write right here, notes. Maybe like a hand. And honestly, guys, anytime you have any ideas, even if it's a brain fart, write it down. Write it down, write it down, write it down, write it down. Because you might think it's a dumb idea, but then somebody go, well, maybe like a hand, but not quite a hand. And you want to make sure to design things that when it looks too alien, sometimes people have a hard time connecting to it. So you will have the impact of having something that it is visually shocking, and it's your brain will be processing. But the problem is, if you do something that's a little too out there, you might accidentally bump your audience out, and they might start overthinking the what's it called? Overthinking what this thing is. A good show that used to do that all the time with alien species, it was Star Trek, like the old classic Star Trek. There was an episode where Kirk and Spock were brought into these mines, and some of their miners were getting attacked, or they were getting eaten by this creature, and they were dying horribly. And what it was is, and this is from the 70s, I'm not spoiling anything. If you haven't seen it, you should really go back, watch classic Star Trek, because they did a lot with very little special effects. A lot of it was super creative, so you got to give them credit for that. But they encountered a living creature that was a living rock, like a rock. So Spock had to do the Vulcan mimel on it, so that way he could figure out what was going on and why this rock thing was attacking the miners. And then eventually, they sorted things out, yada. But it was one of those things that Star Trek wanted people to really think about certain issues. So in that aspect, it worked. That you took your audience out of the normal realm of motion, out of what we consider life, and it was, instead of being a carbon-based object, it was a silica-based creature. So they really wanted people to really think outside of the box. So if you want to do something like that, that's more like mentally stimulating, or it gets your audience to think outside of the box, and great. If you want something that's going to be fun and kind of kitschy, and it's just visually appealing, try to stick to things that are unique, but also not too absurd, where your audience is going to be like, what the hell did I just look at? Or how much weed did your team smoke? Because there's some shows that I watch and I'm like, what? I get thrown out of the stories so far off, because they're just throwing such a curveball trying to be unique, that I get focused on that one thing, and I just completely stop caring about anything else. Maybe that's just me. But when I talk to a couple of peers, they have told me the same thing. So, okay, so we're going to go right here. Okay, so we got hair. Now I want to do something else with it. Oh, I want to show them grabbing something. Okay, so I'm going to go right here. So maybe in this world, what they have equivalent for glasses are like these square things. Because remember, glasses, believe it or not, glasses is the world's most used prosthetic. And people are like, no, prosthetics is when you lose a limb and then you use it to, guess what? If you are visually impaired and you need an external element to put on your body so you can function, that's a prosthetic. It's just people don't think about it as a prosthetic because you are constantly using it. So maybe in their world, their glasses would be like a piece of glass. Who knows? Again, just some ideas. And then you have a character here that's explaining something. And even though they have little knobs, they think of the Powerpuff Girls. Ooh, that'd be really good where she has her hair like a bun, like a librarian. But then one of them's holding maybe a second stick. Now what I was gonna originally do. Square glasses. Don't ask why I say square glasses, but it's probably going to get rounded off later on. But just an idea. Remember, because these days representation is important. So you'll see things that make no sense trying to echo reality, and you're like, whatever. So, but representation is important. I think it's important if it's used correctly. I've unfortunately started to see more and more where they try to use representation and it's so out there that it just feels like you cannot. Like Netflix does this a lot. Like they'll do like a 14th century French location, and then suddenly there will be like Hispanics like in powder wigs and stuff. But that's like, that makes absolutely like zero sense to me, and my brain just cannot get into it. Maybe it's just me, but it's just, I can't do it. But again, so now if it's a future where maybe like, you know, it's like 300 years in the future and they go back to that, and then the population is more diverse, and it makes a lot of sense. But in some cases, some of the shows they make, it makes no sense. Like The Witcher. The Witcher is very European based, and the books were phenomenal, by the way. And then they kind of diversified the cast, and some of the characters were so unrecognizable. I didn't even know it was them until they mentioned their name, and I'm like, oh wow, that's who that's supposed to be. Like Falca, if you see her in the books and in the video game, she's in the video game. Very fair skin, dark hair, and then they put an African American lady on it. She's a good actress, but I didn't know she was Falca the whole time. So they have a really big problem. Kind of like you're so engrossed in the world that when they present characters, they don't really introduce them very well. So when you finally realize who they are, because the whole time I'm watching, it's like, who the hell is this? Who is this witch? And then you're like, oh, that's supposed to be Falca? Okay, not happening. The other one was like they added like some like an Indian Buddhist temple like character in season 2. I don't remember her at all from any of the games or the books. So it was just kind of like a PC insert. And I'm just like, okay. So this is why, like, I'm one of the diehard fans that I saw the season 2 and I hated it. Because they Netflixed it and they kind of ruined the story. They changed all the character subjective. But anyway, that's just me ranting about The Witcher. Because you guys know that I love The Witcher. But yeah, so you got to be careful with your characters you design. And if you are changing it, make sure it makes sense to your audience. Like, it's okay to use a creative license, but don't obscure it so much that you're going to lose the core audience or the original audience. So yeah, like if you're a non-fan, you had no idea. If you're a hardcore fan, no, not gonna happen. There I go, ranting about stuff. Okay, so if this is a warrior race, and again, I'm just going to have them holding basic items. Let's say like a soda. Maybe they start helping in an episode. They start helping like Hobbes. And maybe this tentacle will have like a wrench. Maybe they crash landed on their planet. We don't know how they got there. But they're clearly holding some tools. And this one will be like a screwdriver. Yeah, I've been doing some home repair, can you tell? And this one's just going to be like on his hip. Maybe he's got like a little tool belt, like tool time. Repairman, Octo guy. In actuality, this is actually a beer. No, it's actually DW40 or something. Or what they will consider DW40 in this universe. Now you also got to keep in mind your overlapping masses though. If the character's 3/4, the tentacle up front, this one right here, the one closest to us, is going to be the mass up front. Okay, this is going to be, so it's going to be 1, 2. So this is the closest mass to us. Next, then the second, third, fourth. This one's going to be towards the back because it's 3/4 views. Boop. There we go. Then I'm going to move this away. And again, guys, I'm just having fun with this and not too worried about it. Okay, cool beans. Again, just to get some ideas out. Let me distribute this a little bit better. It's the best part of a digital. You can kind of move stuff around as you need to. And then this way I can get rid of the excess. Okay, so that looks good to me. Yes, ma'am. I know you got food. Don't act like I don't feed you. These damn cats. I love them. Don't get me wrong. I love my meow meows very much. But they drive me bonkers some days. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. Again, this is just kind of me going back. Alright, cool beans. And again, this is just me just getting some ideas down. Okay, this out of water. Let's fix this eye right here. She still looks kind of wonky. Let's fix that. Okay, so we have the arm there. There we go. Let's see, it's going right there. Again, I usually like to go back and kind of refine. And then I'm going to create a brand new layer just to add some color. So these are just sketches. What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't make me pull out the spray bottle. I really hate the spray bottle, but man, there's sometimes you just kind of have to. What you doing, you butts? Again, this is just me just adding. Let me just switch this to a more solid. There you go. Okay, so it's like a pinkish. So their eyes range from like a yellowish to like an orange. Again, this is just me doing some quick concepts. Then I'm going to pick like a blue. Like their body, it stays consistent. like it could be different colors, but their eyes are either yellow or they're orange. Kind of like the human species had several colors, like you have, you know, blue, green, then you have like a light brown, dark brown. So it just depends on what is your, you know, what is your genetic evolutionary background. People that tend to be more from like warmer climates with more direct sun tend to evolve with more darkened pigmentation and darker eye tones, as we see like places in Africa, which is really warm, Central America, where much of the population is indigenous. They have evolved to have more of a darker pigmentation to their skin, and the eyes tend to be darker so that way they can tolerate the amount of light that you see. If you go to places where it's a lot colder, then you're going to see more of what you see like in Europe, where they're going to be more fair skin, which means that they blend with the environment, and they also have lighter color eyes. And even though this is a mutation, which I mean it could be depending who you talk to. Sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. But it tends to be more predominant in certain, especially in colder regions. So there's got to be an evolutionary benefit to that there as well. But yeah, I love these guys come in like all different colors and tones. And again, this one's gonna get the orange eyes. So I'm gonna put this right here, orange, and then I'm gonna borrow the yellow. Okay. I'm gonna call this eyes. Oh, terrible color. Never write yellow over white, kids. Never write yellow over white. Do as I say, not as I do. And they're gonna be really bright. Think of like Lisa Frank level bright. And even the teeth, I could actually give the teeth a different color. So that way it looks more alien. But if it's gonna be kind of like a tween show, I don't want to go too crazy with some of the colors. With the teeth, at least. Because it might throw some people off. Like way off. So in this case, the character's orange. So if they're orange and the eyes are orange, they have the ultimate camouflage. They're a continuous tone all the way through. Okay. And even with these tones, I gotta be careful. There we go. Because you want to make sure you have some rich color, but the color is not too dark that you actually start losing character. There we go. And I just right now just randomly picking for fun. Okay, now as they get older, obviously their pigmentation goes down, so the saturation goes down on the character. So maybe at one point she was really red, but now she is more of a pinkish. Maybe she's a little older. That's how you could tell who are the older ones. When they're younger, they're really nice and bright, and as they get older, they're still a very rich color, but maybe they're saturated. They're lower saturation. So I'll make a note somewhere in here. So let me go back over here. Let me unlocked. Unlocked. There we go. D. Young. Let me switch to my pencil. Let me go here. So young, high, sat, old, low, sat. So I know what that is. Okay, and I'm gonna go right here and I'm gonna point a little arrow to this up here. And like I said, notes don't gotta be pretty. They just gotta make sense to you. So that way you can go back and you can refer and you can look through it. And then right here, I'm gonna go to this guy right here. Maybe he's also a little older, so I'm gonna drop the saturation on him a little bit. How old do these things live? We haven't gotten that far, but I'm gonna assume they probably live pretty old. Death is pretty unusual in this world. I picked a softer brush. That's not what I wanted. There we go. And for him, I'm going to use yellow. Why are you not painting? Come on, yellow. Be interesting. Okay. That's weird. It's painting, but it's painting like a tint over it. Interesting. Load B. Okay, it's probably one of those weird funky brushes. I don't care much for. There we go. That looks like it's back to normal. Let's do some yellow. Nope, still doing it. Don't know why. What did I miss? Oh, that's why. Wrong brush. There we go. It's always something done with Photoshop. Every time. Never fails. Okay, right now I'm just picking random colors, guys. I'm not. It's got the belt. Again, just some ideas. Woohoo! Okay, and like, again, this doesn't seem like much, but again, when you're doing production, this will kind of come in handy. It's just, you just put it, this is just what I call throwing spaghetti at the wall. You're just trying to figure it out, and then once you show it to your team, you discuss it, and they go, hey, what is it that you like, you don't like? And from here, probably the next step is for me to go to Illustrator and then start doing a much cleaner version of this in Illustrator. But for right now, I'm just trying to get the locomotives down, get the ideas down, so that way our users can, you know, our team can see what we're working with. So I'm gonna paint. Why you paint over that? F7. Come back to me. Oh, that's why. Let's go up here. There we go. Let's go over here and switch to pencil. Make that brush bigger. Let's add the smoothing. Again, not quite sure. Oh my god. Okay, that's not what I want. Uh-oh. Am my headset dying? My headset is dying. Okay. Why are you doing this opacity thing? I really do not like they're giving you so many options with Adobe. Like some of the iconic basics are just hidden. And I don't really care for this. So it might be great for someone else's workflow, but for the people that have been using this for like forever, you just lose so much time trying to find the basic tools that you've had all along, and it's such a nuisance. But again, that's just me. I'm an old fogey. I don't really care. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. There we go. So now my crew can take a look at this. They can say they love it, they hate it. That's fine. I don't care either way. So I'm just trying to get some ideas down so they can kind of see what we're going with. So, yep, I think my headset's trying to die. But anyway, guys, so this right here, for pretty much of a nutshell, this is pretty much how you start doing like some of your character designs. You started with, again, I have a concept that my friend gave me. I came up with 3 concepts to show him. He really liked this last version, so today we're fleshing that rendition or that character design more than, you know, what he wanted, what this thing moves. What does it do? What does the additional other characters of the population do? Maybe doing the hair thing. What does this greeting look like that it makes people freak out? So just little basic things. And again, because we're on our own, it's only 3 people. I've come to learn that the less people you have involved in a project, sometimes the easier it is to move forward. When you start getting into like teams of like hundreds and hundreds of people, it gets bogged down, especially if there's like a lot of process, like a lot of money involved. It gets, they have to make sure they get it right because it's people's livelihood at stake. So I kind of understand. But if you're doing something for fun, you don't care. So I usually tell people, if you want to make something, go out there, make something, have fun, just have fun, create, draw whatever you want, and just make stuff for you. So this is a project that we're making for us, and we're hoping that our audience will eventually love it once we get a chance to put it out, so we see where we're at. So with that, guys, just keep checking us out. Like I said, I'm trying to make it a point to either work on Astrocats. I'll be also working on my book myself, my personal comic book. So obviously I cannot draw every page on the stream because then I'll be giving stuff away story-wise. So this is a pretty good alternative where I'm just kind of creating content and stuff for me to refine down the line for the show. I know my headset's dying. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you guys later, and thank you very much. Bye.